Using a cycle lane around what looked like a rather large obstacle.
Gets his head down, he's in a time trialing position at the moment.
This is The Domestics, presented by Black Sheep Cycling.
Oh, it's a great intro. I absolutely love it when you hear Carlton Kirby reach maximum commentary pitch. The voice just sounds awesome. Hello, welcome to the Domestics. I'm Mike Tomalaris. It's Wednesday, the 20th of July. And yes, I'll be a little bit self-indulgent. It's my brother's birthday today. Hello, bro. I know you listen. And great to have you on board. And great to have you on board wherever you're listening around the world, because this is an international program. I'm coming to you from Foix in the south of France, very close to the Pyrenees. Tills, happy Wednesday to you. Where are you tonight?
Morning, Mike. I'm here in Brisbane. It's 6 a.m. here. I just want to actually start with a bit of a shout out to our listeners, give them a bit of an insight into what it's like behind the scenes here. We're never sure if Hollywood's going to turn up. He's reliable as a movie star teammate. And then usually, Tomo, we're trying to explain to you your Nokia 1038 isn't going to hotspot. And then I usually get on and say more ums than a monk. But look, we're a 3-week team. We're here in the third week, and we're going to bring it home. So massive thank you to all the listeners who have been coming with us on this journey, and hopefully it's just going to get better and better.
Well, it's not over yet, and even though we're in the third week of the Tour de France, we've got a lot of guests still to come, a lot of topics still to cover, and a big race that'll come to a conclusion in the early hours of Monday morning, if you're listening to us from Australia. Well, I said it's international, and Lee Turner is on an island in the Mediterranean, and from what I can tell, Hollywood, you are Mr. International, not like Tills and myself. You have people from all over the world that know you, follow you, and love you. Tell us about it.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. I am currently in Sardinia, which is an island just off Italy. So, no, it's very good to be here, but the internet is very average, very weak. So excuse it if I disappear and come back, but it's the internet, not my fault.
Well, Hollywood, just tell us about the people that are following you. I want to know what happened to you today. You were stopped.
Yes. Ali had a puncture when we went for a ride, and we Googled nearest bike shop, and there was one 2 kilometres away in the middle of nowhere, and we went there, and when I turned up, they all couldn't believe it that I was there. They all followed me on Instagram. They were so excited to see me. They looked after me. It was like Jesus turned up, and then I'm going for a ride with them tomorrow now, so it just shows you the power of Instagram.
So you were recognised in Sardinia. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, correct. Yes, they all knew me, and they said they follow me and they love me, and they kept saying I'm famous. I said, no, I'm just a flog from Australia who yells and carries on, but they were really happy to see me. It was great.
Hey, what's not to love, Hollywood? What's not to love?
The Domestics by Black Sheep Cycling.
Let's welcome our special guest. And you know what, Hollywood and Tills, you know this man better than I do.
Oh, well, I can introduce him. The great man, former EF rider, had an injury-riddled start to his career, bounced back at the Nationals and almost won, finished second. Currently riding for Bridge Lane. Loves a breakaway. National second, first Warney, Flanders win, under 23s. Giro, he rode a couple of stages in the breakaway. Loves a breakaway. And we're honoured to have the great man, Jimmy James Whelan.
Jimmy, you've got credentials as long as my arm. Now, I'm told that you're having some issues trying to find a World Tour contract. Why is it? Have you got a theory?
G'day, guys. Thanks for the intro. It's as long as your arm, Michael. It's a difficult one to answer, and hopefully it's one that will be answered either next year or the year after. It's a challenging sport. It's a hard job to have. It's a hard job to keep, and that's just the way it is. I'm not the first person to be in this position, and I won't be the last, but just got to keep chipping away, keep faith, basically. Keep riding my bike and keep racing. And if I look at the history of other riders, if you keep knocking on the door, then something will come. And fingers crossed.
Jimmy, take us back. When you were riding with EF, just explain to the listeners who may not have known what happened that year. Just two of the major accidents that you had, and remarkably, you made a full recovery within that same year.
Yeah, so it's a bit of context. I was 3.5 years with EF, and yeah, on my contract year, unfortunately, I had two pretty serious crashes. The first one, I broke my pelvis in the Italia Basque country, and also my shoulder, which took me out for 2 months. And then, unfortunately, on my first race day back in the Tour of Wallonia, I hit a pothole and my handlebar snapped on a descent and broke my jaw, a few ribs and my shoulder again. But I was lucky enough to have a pretty quick recovery, and I was good to go for the Italian Classics at the end of the year, which was my last little hurrah with EF. And then I obviously came into the Australian summer and got a few results and tried to find a job from that. Almost did, but it came short. So I'm here in a similar situation, racing again for a job next year.
Now, Jimmy, I've had a couple of fan questions come in. We've got many fans on the show. One of the fans you may or may not know, Chris Papakostas. He sent in a couple of fan questions and he wanted to know, is it true you only eat kale and fish, steamed fish? Is that true?
I am a white fish guy, yeah. I like my kale. I'm a man of habit, and this Australian summer was plenty of kale and white steamed fish going on with rice and an avocado, of course. I don't know how he knows that. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, interesting. And what about saunas? Apparently you love training, having a sauna after training and before training. Is that true?
Never before training, but definitely after. I have a local gym in Australia which has a really good sauna and a pool, which is a good way to relax. And the same here in Europe. I try and do a similar thing, whether it's a sauna or a hot bath. I think you'll find that many pros do that also. It's a good way to switch off, but it's also a good benefit, especially with the current heat wave in Europe. It's kind of a necessity to be good in the heat. It's never been more appropriate to be doing saunas. So.
Hey, Jimmy, I've got a couple of questions for you. You're not far away from where I am. I'm in Foix. It's probably about 60 kilometres from where you are in Andorra. Now, we've had heat wave conditions here in all of Europe. Andorra is what, some 2,500 metres above sea level. Tell us about the weather there. How hot has it been, if at all?
Yeah, usually the best part about Andorra in the summer is that you can escape the heat from the coast and from the coastal area or anywhere down low. So I'm currently up at 2,000 metres and we're still seeing 30 degrees Celsius, which is super hot for here. And the sun has a bit of a kick up at altitude too. So the UV is a bit stronger. And I've never seen 30 degrees up here in Andorra, and I've seen it plenty of times over the last few weeks.
Jimmy, look, you are and were a World Tour rider. How frustrating, I can only imagine it's very frustrating watching the Tour de France right now for you, knowing full well that you have the talent, you have the credentials, you have the skill. I heard the credentials from Hollywood just a few seconds ago. You're watching it on TV, I'm sure. What's going through your mind as you sit down on your lounge watching the world's biggest bike race?
Yeah, I mean, today I actually rode down to watch then go through the first KLM on the race, which is important for me to see because it keeps me hungry. It's my goal to do the Tour de France, and it keeps it pretty real if you can go there, watch it. And yeah, when you're on the roadside and it's what you want to be doing, it's good to tap into it every now and then and see it live. That's my dream, and I'm not far away from it. I've got my life set up here. I've got everything good to go. I still live at altitude, you know. So, yeah, and whether that's next year or the year after, I'll definitely be in the pro ranks next year. So, yeah, the dream's far from gone, I can tell you that much. I mean, Michael Matthews was saying that he feels young, and I'm only 26, and he was saying that on his last podcast. And yeah, I see guys like Michael Woods who basically did their Neo Pro year at the age of 28. today he finished third in the Tour de France. So, yeah, I'm certainly not ready to get an officer job yet. So I'm a bit of a stubborn guy like that.
Jimmy, explain for our listeners, because it's quite different from, say, swimming or running where you have to do a certain time and you might get in. Like, is it clear for you on what you need to do to get into the World Tour?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with cycling. It's not like running where you have a qualifier. Your contracts are based off times and all these things. Obviously, it's hard to quantify your value as a World Tour rider, particularly when you spend the first few years as a domestique. It's a difficult one to answer. Obviously, my year with Bridge Lane Racing in Europe, I'm hoping to get a few results in the first and only real climbing races that we're doing for our European block, which is in a few weeks. So the idea is to win one of those and talk to the managers who have had a few conversations with me over the last year or so. Hopefully put pen to paper. But it's easy to think about it and talk about it and overcomplicate it, but it's as simple as staying fit, staying healthy, training well, and then taking that opportunity to race. It's really that simple. You can talk about all the other stuff, but you have to keep it simple, otherwise it's easy to get emotionally stressed about it, and stress does not do any good for performance.
After your great ride at Nationals early this year, would the Nationals be another target for you next year, particularly when you've got such a great feeder, the 6'4" guy who fed you at Nationals? Will he be back to feed you again?
It was pretty easy having a basketball player or look like a basketballer just leaning over the peloton and passing me a Coca-Cola on the last few laps. That was very easy. Nationals will be a big target. It's still a while away, and I want to be doing the TDU again. So I want to win that again, but win the real one against World Tour riders, and hopefully look at a few managers and proving them silly that they didn't sign me this year.
Hey, Jimmy, I know your target is trying to secure a World Tour contract. How is it that you can base yourself in Andorra and focus on the National Road Series in Australia, come to Ballarat, do the Nationals, do the Tour Down Under? Everything is focused around or revolves around your racing in Australia. How do you balance that?
Well, at the moment for this year, if I need to come to Europe, because if I get given a job opportunity, I need to be here in Europe. And I'm also more set up here. Obviously here at Bridge Lane we have a European program, so I'm still able to race in Europe and take chances to then go pro again. Obviously the mindset to the Australian races will switch over in November once the off-season finishes in October. So it's not necessarily not really thinking about nationals or these things just quite yet.
Jimmy, you sort of just skipped over some of your injuries. It was like pretty incredible what you came back from. Like you pretty much shattered your pelvis, which was just such a shocking injury when you're cycling. Were you able to fully recover from all of that? I know you're quite a prolific, amazing runner, and did that have a lot to do with having really good bone density, or I'm not sure? Just talk us through what that recovery was like.
Obviously it was a really bad injury, but I healed really fast too, which was evident last year. I have really good bone density, one of the best at EF at the time, and that was because of my running, and I still run a little bit to maintain my overall health that bike riding doesn't give you. Last year in the Italian Classics at the end of the year, after a really horrible season and seeing my form and seeing the way I raced, I know that if I can have a healthy season, it'd be pretty cool to see how well I could ride. It would be nice to know what I could do in those Italian races if I had the Volta in my legs instead of 3.5 months of being on the couch.
The Tour de France is not far away from where you are. You told us a few seconds ago that you did watch a little bit of it today. They're climbing to the Périgords tomorrow. What do you make of the battle between 1 and 2, Vingegaard and the Pog?
It's pretty interesting to watch. Vodka clearly is finding him difficult to shake. It's an interesting battle, but it's a battle that everyone saw coming. I think they've shown that they're the two strongest guys, and I think it'll be interesting if Jonas has a chance to attack the Vodka. If he does, I think that'll make the bike race quite exciting, but he doesn't need to. But for the time being, Vodka's having a rough time getting rid of him, which has been enjoyable to watch.
Well, what's really surprised me is the fact that the Pog hasn't been able to shake Jonas Vingegaard. And, of course, the Dane is racing in a more defensive way, while the Pog is trying every trick in the book to attack him and shake him, but it's not working. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see even he was taking it down to the resort of going super fast down these hills. And I've ridden these climbs before and I saw the speed that they were going down. And it's actually difficult. If you don't understand the road and where they're riding, it's difficult to realise how fast they're going down that hill.
Jimmy, do you draw a lot of inspiration from Simon Clark's story this past year and not having a contract in January and winning a stage at the Tour de France?
Yeah. I almost need to put a photo up of him on the wall, that type of thing. I was riding with him in December and he was talking about retirement with me. But to see him now winning a stage of the Tour de France, I don't usually tear up watching a bike race, particularly just for another bike rider, but that was pretty special and inspiring. So yeah, it's good to see people like Clarkie, but there's also many other people like Clarkie. We have Van Rensburg, who's a South African national champion who was in the same position after Quebec. And he's also racing the Tour de France. He's been racing really well. And there's plenty of examples throughout the years of guys who have probably could have and should have, put their shoes away, but they didn't, and they keep racing for another 6 years, 7 years, and as long as I can maintain my health, the opportunity will come, and hopefully a job will come with it.
So, Jimmy, talk us through the rest of the sort of next 5 months or so for the rest of the year. What's the plan? You're there in Europe at the moment with the Australian Conti team, Bridge Lane. What's your schedule looking like?
So we've been racing. The boys have been here, and the staff have been racing here in Europe since April. And the European block finishes on the 6th of August. So we have 2 more races left. We have the Tour of Alsace, which is a 5-day race, and then also a 1-day at Savoie Mont Blanc, which is 4,600 meters of climbing, just a big Grenoble. And then that'll be the season finished. And in an ideal scenario, I'll transfer across into a new team or find a job for next year here in Europe. So, and then I'll keep ticking along, and then hopefully you guys are calling me next year talking about my Tour de France win on stage 11. We'll see.
Jimmy, we'll call you. We'll call you any day of the week just to have a chin wag, because you are a very interesting choice of subject. But look, you said something interesting a few seconds ago. You said that you will get a contract next year. Now, is that a scoop that you're trying to hold back? Is there some news that you want to reveal to us?
There's no news. There's possible options. So.
Like what?
No, I can't say. But the thing is, the
exclusive, Jimmy. Give us an exclusive.
Give me something, Jimmy.
I don't want to say.
That's why our ratings are going through the roof.
Just stay between us.
Well, for example, these conversations look really positive after the Tour Down Under, which I won and came second at Nationals last year. And I had 4 or 5 teams that were talking with my agent, and I was actually pretty stoked about things and thinking everything was going to go on track. But I was having a conversation with them, and then they left for Smoko and never come back. And that could happen again, so I don't want to talk too early. So maybe if you tune in for 10 minutes at one time, if I was signed, then I'm happy to say it.
Now, Jimmy, I'm sure you've seen the movie with Kevin Costner, the bodyguard, with Whitney Houston. Now, how do you go with, because when you're in Australia, I notice you've sort of got a bodyguard with you whenever you ride, always sort of looking out for you around up the climbs. And how have you gone without having that bodyguard in Andorra? And when I say bodyguard, I'm talking about, again, Chris Papakostas.
Yeah, I mean, Chris is why it's why I go back to Australia every year, to have my bodyguard. Yeah, it's a bit of an issue here, but
He's a serial pest.
Do you need an AVO, Jimmy? Is that what you're looking for?
I just need to be getting paid so that I can pay Chris to come over here and he can be my bodyguard in Europe. That'd be nice.
Hey, Jimmy, tell us about life in Andorra. I really want to know about life in Andorra. It's just a small little principality perched between Spain and France. It's totally different to those countries that it borders. How do you like living there?
It's really nice. From an athlete perspective, it's an amazing place to live. Obviously, I'm living at 2,000 meters, and this makes a big difference for me physically. But also, you get to train with the world's best bike riders that have set up here too. So, your environment of the people around you. So if you put yourself around other world-class athletes and you build relationships with these athletes, it's pretty cool. And yeah, it's just a nice place to live. The Pyrenees are beautiful. Today I was riding up a climb that was almost from Foix all the way back up to Base de la Casa, from 400 meters to 2,400 meters. So I had a 2,000 meter vertical climb. And whilst it was 39 degrees on the tarmac, I was still absolutely loving life. It's a beautiful place to ride a bike. It's a pleasure to set up here.
And, of course, the tax reliefs are really good too.
Yeah, it's also, but it doesn't really matter this year without a job.
Now, mate, I'm being serious for a moment. I can be serious sometimes, mate. I've always been a big fan, a big believer in your ability and talent. I just want to say this heart to heart, mate, do not give in. You've got so much talent. I honestly believe that. Just don't give in. Keep fighting and fighting, because I honestly believe in my heart it will come. You just got to keep that desperation and hunger up, so don't give in.
Yeah, luckily for me, it comes naturally. This stupid passion. So, yeah, at what point it'll become stupid, I don't know, but I'll never find out.
Well, if you've got the passion, Jimmy, I'm sure the doors will open.
You can measure watts, mate, but you can't measure desperation. Desperation can't be measured. That's something they can't measure. So keep being hungry, keep being desperate.
Yeah, I mean, even in the context of this year and even last year, it was very challenging, but I still loved every minute of it. So if I can enjoy it at the most challenging times, I can't wait to be rewarded with a few results.
And Jimmy, just to reiterate, Lee, like the whole of Australia, the cycling community, like we are so all behind you. I know that Nationals ride you did, like it was the most incredible ride to come second, and you're only beaten by Luke Platt, who's now, will be one of the best on the world tour. And so, like, you're the people's champ. You have so much support back home, and I can't tell you how much everyone's willing you on. So don't come home, mate. We're cheering you on and excited to see where you end up.
The only reason why I'll come home is to win Nationals and TDU again. So.
And listen, do us a favour. Do us a favour. When that contract does come, we'll produce a special edition of the Domestiques just for you, Jimmy Whelan. How does that sound? So we get the exclusive.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. It can be publicly announced on this podcast. Hopefully in a few weeks.
Excellent.
You have my word.
How do you do it, Tomo? How do you do it? Good on you, Jimmy.
As long as the managers keep their word too.
All right. Great to hear you, Jimmy. We wish you all the best. It's been fantastic to have you here. And just a final question. Who's your tip for the tour? Who's going to win this thing?
To be honest, I hope Portugal makes up some time to the point that when it comes to the time trial, he'll be able to have a proper sniff. And that will be an unbelievable bike race. It's already been an unbelievable bike race, not just on the yellow jersey. But I would like to see Jonas Vingegaard win.
I was going to say, to think that these two guys that we're speaking of are younger than you.
Exactly. it's crazy. It is
amazing.
crazy. And Jonas used to pack fish. I don't know if you've ever seen that story, but he's a humble guy from a humble family, and he's from Denmark racing in this heat. It's also baffles me too. And also, the tour started in Denmark. It would have so much traction. If he wins, it's good for the sport.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you, Matilda. Thank you, Lee Hollywood Turner. Let's hope the internet works next time we speak. And thank you at home for listening. You've been listening to The Domestiques. We'll talk to you very soon.
The Domestiques. The Domestiques by Black Sheep Cycling.